Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. This is probably the first time of the year. I think first time this year. I'm showing my face on camera for this year. Nothing particularly, no reason why I haven't shown my face on camera, but I'm showing it now. Anyway, so if you don't know about BWTM Sports, then we are kind of post weekly videos, and every so often we'll talk to people from around the boxing world, particularly world-class elite trainers, um, and talk to them. People have been in the sport over 30, 40, 50 years, and we do get to talk to them and get the latest lowdown, particularly in the heavyweight division. And of course, we're talking Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. So the fight's been made, the purse bids. Congratulations to Frank Warren as well. Once again, he's proven that when it comes down to a purse bid, he really will back his man to the hill. Dillian Whyte, the free agent. I don't know what to say apart from congratulations to Frank Warren, the best promoter in the world, doesn't win purse bids, not big purse bids. And once again, another purse bid where Matchroom have lost, and Frank has blown them out the water with Top Rank. So, Frank, he's got some fight in him yet. Anyway, so initial thoughts of Fury and Whyte, the fight being made. I will say this much. If you listen to a lot of people across social media, before Fury fought Wilder was, there's two sides of it. Wilder was either the best heavyweight or he was for sure the undisputed biggest puncher in world boxing at the time before Fury fought him. And he continued to show that. He dropped Fury twice in the fight. But some say that Wilder is a great puncher. Other people say Wilder's a bum, including Fury himself, who's called him no more than a basketball player with skinny legs. But on two separate occasions and two separate fights, Fury's hit the canvas 4 times. Now, say what you want, but from a guy who's not going to be that talented, Alan Windmiller, it doesn't say very much about the best heavyweight in the world. This is not me running Fury down. This is just what people say. So if you come from the world of, and don't flip-flop, if you come from the world of Wilder's not very good, well, since Fury's beaten Wilder in the third fight, there are people now saying that Fury's the best heavyweight in the world, the greatest thing since sliced bread, based on the fact that he beat a guy in Wilder who wasn't very good. Now, that's what people are saying, okay? That's not what my opinion is. That's what a lot of people flip-flop and say. But somehow, the majority is now coming and said he's the best heavyweight in the world without a shadow of doubt. What did it make? Did it make Deontay Wilder the best heavyweight in the world when Tyson Fury beat him? Or was it just typical nonsense that people put out to slate a fighter because the promoter doesn't like the fighter, because the promoter wanted to sign the fighter, but the fighter said no. So you just rubbish what you can't have. We've seen it before. And a lot of boxing fanatics are like sheep. If the promoter says this, they'll follow what the promoter says and have a brain of their own. So is it that? Is Deontay Wilder the biggest puncher in world boxing? Is he the biggest puncher in the heavyweight division? Is he a basketball player that's a bum? Or is Tyson Fury, he said himself, he's the most dangerous man in the heavyweight division? Well, make your minds up and decide where you put that in your list of where you rank Tyson Fury. If you put Tyson Fury as an all-time great, there are people putting out there. Some people saying Tyson Fury would have gone on to beat Mike Tyson. It kind of reminds me of the days of Vladimir Klitschko, where Vladimir Klitschko was unbeatable. He would have knocked out Muhammad Ali. If you go in the forums and you track back X amount of years before Tyson beat Klitschko, Klitschko was unbeatable. He was unstoppable. I'm talking about Vladimir Klitschko. Although he'd been sparked a couple of times in his career, people were saying he's invincible. And now we've come on and now talk about Fury. He's been dropped 4 times in 2 fights. Right? So, trying to balance some things up here before I go on and talk about the Dillian Whyte situation, because I definitely have to talk about it. So, let's go. Let's push on a little bit. I want to now talk about Dillian Whyte and the perspective that a lot of people have. And I've kind of said it myself. Dillian Whyte, well, he got chinned by Povetkin. You've got to remember, if you look at guys like Dillian, if you look at guys like Povetkin, Oscar Rivas, and kind of Joseph Parker, not so much Joseph Parker, but really Oscar Rivas and Povetkin, they were both able to get inside, slip inside of Dillian Whyte. If you look at, and in the build-up to the Povetkin fight, I warned of Dillian Whyte's shortcomings, and his shortcomings were squaring himself back up against the ropes. When Oscar Rivas able to throw the uppercut on the inside and drop, he's able to get inside of Dillian Whyte and throw the uppercut, which caused problems for Dillian Whyte and almost knocked him out. Whyte was able to survive that. Then he had the same problems with Parker, the straight right hand for the guard. We all know what happened there. Again, Whyte almost got knocked out. And those were the case studies that I was putting towards the red flags that Dillian Whyte against Povetkin was not going to end well. And Povetkin got inside of Dillian Whyte and won with the uppercut and knocked Whyte out cold. Of course, Povetkin fought in the rematch. He was on skates when he fought Whyte in the rematch. Whyte went about the business he did, and he stopped Povetkin in a shootout. But yeah, I hear a lot of people across boxing saying he's only got a puncher's chance. It's an easy way to look at it. He's only got a puncher's chance. Well, didn't Dillian Whyte only, not Deontay Wilder have a puncher's chance? Well, let's put that theory to bed right now. Let's deal with that. So Deontay Wilder is known for his right hand. Let's be honest, his big right hand. You look at Dillian Whyte, he's more equipped and he's more of a threat to Tyson Fury than Deontay Wilder was because of the more unpredictability with Dillian Whyte. When you've got Dillian Whyte, you've got a guy who can box a little bit, but the other thing Dillian Whyte can do is that he can go to the body. He's called the body snatcher. He can go to body. He can go to the head. He's a looping overhand right heel throw. He's got a dangerous left hook he can throw. And he doesn't mind getting on the inside and having a fight. He'll do things that Deontay Wilder isn't capable of doing. If you look at Deontay Wilder and his setup, when he fought Fury for the third fight, he was trying to go to Fury's body, but that wasn't Deontay Wilder's makeup. That's not what Deontay Wilder naturally does. With Dillian Whyte, he naturally goes to the body. And if there's anybody who's going to go to the body and make a sustained body attack and do it well, it will be Dillian Whyte. As well, Whyte can fight on the inside. He's a smart. Whyte has got more boxing. I don't use the word IQ, but he's more of a wily old fox than Wilder. Wilder had to get taught tricks. If you look at the way Wilder was being manhandled by Fury on the inside, holding on his neck and doing all them sort of old man tricks, Wilder didn't know how to deal with that. He didn't know how to handle that. That won't be the case with Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte's a rough and tough type of guy. His backgrounds have got kickboxing backgrounds. All these things people are kind of dismissing because of the Povetkin fight. Povetkin and Fury are just two totally different fighters. You look at Fury, he's long, he's tall, can fight southpaw, can fight orthodox, right? But Fury doesn't like guys that are shorter than him and can throw the overhand right and can throw the left hook. Now, here's an example. When Fury fought Chisora for the second fight, I remember talking to him saying, I said to him, you know what? Your boxing style's cool, but you're vulnerable to overhand rights. He says to me, and it's on BWTM Sports, this channel, the interview was just before the second Chisora fight. He said to me, I'm going to show you something in this fight, something different. What he did to take away the right hand of Derek Chisora, he turned southpaw. That took the right hand of Derek Chisora away. And he put a beautiful boxing... one of the best boxing performances I saw Tyson put on was against Derek Chisora in that second fight. He looked like on another planet. And Derek Chisora was on a good run of fights before he busted his hand again. I saw that sparring session. It was him with Wack and Ustinov back in those days when Ustinov and Vac were still considered world contenders. Don't think Ustinov had lost the fight, and I think Vac was in the top 5 of the heavyweight division. So they were genuine heavyweights that were at the time pushing for world honors, both dangerous heavyweights at the time. So yeah, Derek injured his hand, he injured his thumb at the time. I remember watching the sparring session and the fight getting pulled, and then obviously that fight was rescheduled. But my point is, Dillian Whyte brings a lot more to offer to the table than Deontay Wilder did. Yes, Deontay Wilder has a big right hand and he sets traps. But this is different because he fought a guy that was taller than himself and took away a lot of Deontay Wilder's advantages. And when that happened, I don't think Deontay Wilder was able to make the adjustments necessary against a guy who had arguably, not even arguably, who had better boxing fundamentals. And it was the boxing fundamentals that was able to keep Fury on his feet. And really, he let Wilder down in all 3 fights. That boxing, those boxing fundamentals, not just relying on a right hand, there was a lot more to it. And I'm not just saying Wilder just walked around throwing one right hand, but I'm saying to you that when you're comparing Whyte to Wilder, Whyte is far more, he's more equipped. He's not just going to come with the right hand. He's got the left hook. I said he's a body puncher. He can work well on the inside. But Whyte himself has got problems. He sometimes throws the right hand and spins 360. His balance is awful at times, Dillian Whyte. His footwork is not great either. So there are things there as well. So I'm not saying Dillian Whyte is the next Ken Norton or the next Joe Frazier. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is I think people are overlooking Dillian Whyte because of the 3 Deontay Wilder fights. And I think that would be a dangerous thing to do. And it would be a dangerous thing for Tyson Fury and his team to do, to overlook Dillian Whyte. This guy is a threat, a dangerous threat. The leverage that Povetkin would get in his punches are not the sort of leverage that Tyson's going to get on his punches. And the punches that Tyson was able to catch Deontay Wilder with, because Deontay Wilder is so fundamentally flawed as a fighter, he won't hit Dillian Whyte with those sort of punches. Deontay Wilder hasn't got a catch and shoot on him. So, Deontay Wilder's not going to catch a shot and counter. He's not going to do that to you. Not in the way that Dillian Whyte would. So Dillian Whyte is more likely to close the range down on Tyson Fury faster because he can catch and shoot, right? And he has fought against physically big men. Let's talk about Wack. Let's talk about Joshua. The guys who got faster. Let's talk about Joseph Parker. He's fought a range of different types of opponents. The Hellenius fight. So now Dillian Whyte is a seasoned pro and is well prepared to face Tyson Fury. And what I do like about it is that, Dillian Whyte had that run of fights, back-to-back fights on pay-per-view. And I kind of felt that he needed a rest. And he's had a nice rest now to come in to fight Tyson Fury. And I think his body would be rejuvenated. So I thought his punch resistance was a bit questionable after the Povetkin fight and the knockout. But Tyson won't land those kind of punches on Dillian Whyte. So I think to myself, this is a damn good fight. And it's a damn good fight if Dillian Whyte can get close to Tyson, because he's got a decent jab himself, Dillian Whyte. If he can get Tyson fighting, backing up against the ropes, we have got a great fight. Whyte can push Tyson back, stop Tyson from getting his jab going, push Tyson back. And remember, Tyson now is not the same Tyson Fury that fought Vladimir Klitschko. All that herky-jerky stuff, he's going to have to go back to that herky-jerky stuff against Dillian Whyte. But Dillian Whyte won't stand for that stuff. He's not going to stand there and let Tyson do all this stuff. He won't do that. He'll bull rush Tyson Fury. He'll work Tyson to the body. And the thing is, when you getting hit with body shots the way Dillian Whyte throws body shots, because he's a deliberate body puncher, he will slip. He'll throw a combination, pop, 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 and drop a body shot in. And if Tyson's backing up against the ropes and landing them body shots, it's a different fight altogether. Like I said, if he can land them body shots and slow Tyson up, we have a fight on his hands. I honestly don't see Tyson Fury standing on the outside and just outboxing Dillian Whyte like that. I just don't see that kind of a fight. I don't see that kind of a fight. Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury sort of reminds me of Danny Williams against Vladimir Klitschko. Sort of. As Williams, tough, game, strong. You know, you could throw combination punching. I think that probably White's got a better left hook on him, better body puncher than Williams. But yeah, Williams got a lot of heart. White's got a lot of heart. So, and the Klitschko's like that guy who's fundamentally better. He had a great jab, you know, to flick out, and a good booming right hand. So there's that sort of kind of fight. And when Klitschko was able to keep Williams at the end of the jab, he was able to land that big right hand right down the pipe and drop Williams early. Go back and look at that fight. And it's that sort of fight that if Dillian Whyte doesn't close the range down on Tyson Fury, that's the sort of thing I expect to see. Tyson keeping him at range, using the jab and the right hand going down the pipe. I see that scenario. That's why Dillian Whyte's going to have to pick his moments of getting inside. But when he gets inside and he gets on them ropes, he will be more effective than a Deontay Wilder up close. Wilder was learning how to fight on the inside, while Tyson Fury, if you remember, was when he was with the UFC and doing that WWE wrestling, he was learning how to wrestle and do that stuff on the inside, which was very helpful to him in fights with Deontay Wilder, where he's able to lean on Deontay Wilder and sap his energy off his legs. So Wilder was exhausted by round 2 or 3 because he was leaning on him, putting all his body weight on Wilder, sapping on his legs, which are not exactly, they're quite thin. And it's something that people have noted before. So that was something I was very wary of Tyson. So the key punches for me in the fight for Dillian Whyte is, for me, his left hook, his body shots, and his overhand right. And don't underestimate the Dillian Whyte jab. I wouldn't look at fights with Chisora. I would look at how Dillian Whyte. I would go back and look at fights with Dillian Whyte against Robert Helenius. That's a fight because, again, Helenius is tall, got a long jab. How did he maneuver against Helenius? Won't look at the Parker fight so much. So Helenius is one I would look at. I would look at the Marius-Vac fight for height, how he tackles that. Again, it's not Tyson Fury, but you look at the comparisons of height, reach advantage, and how Dillian Whyte goes about it. Although Dillian Whyte wasn't in the greatest shape against Vac, again, you need to see how he goes about his business in fights like that. Who else would come into the equation? I wouldn't look at Oscar Rivas, shorter guy. Wouldn't look at Povetkin, shorter guy. So, yeah, the taller guys I would look at Dillian Whyte. I would, if I'm going to bring in sparring, I'd be bringing in guys like Robert Helenius for sparring. I would even bring in Gerard Anderson. Speed, hand speed, movement. I would look at those guys. But you look at, like I said, I mentioned the Vac fight. Like I said, Dillian Whyte took that fight on 3 weeks' notice. So I don't really want to hear Willie was struggling in that fight because he wasn't fit and he was like 19 stone something. But still, I want to look at how Dillian Whyte dealt with Vac, how he fought Vac that night. I want to see how he went about his business there, because ultimately Vac has still got height and reach advantage. Those are the things I want to look at. How Dillian Whyte deals with height and reach, how effective he would be against Tyson Fury. This fight isn't happening, I'm telling you. Why, you think the Usyk fight will happen? Look, Whyte, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that, by the way. Much appreciated, as always. Look, Whyte was struggling. Let's see here. Eddie dissing Frank for not paying his fighters. Well, yet bids 9 million less for his man Dillian. Yeah, Eddie's full of crap. I've said it many years ago, and it's coming out in the wash about him. Dillian 2 million better off Frank 1. Yeah, of course. I've told you about Frank and I told you about Eddie a long time ago. Frank is substance. Eddie is show. Frank is substance. Eddie is show. No, I don't think Usyk fight happens with Fury either. Okay. I don't know. This whole WBC situation, arbitration, I don't know. I would like to see the fight between Dillian Whyte and Tyson Fury because he's long overdue. He's shot. But here's the thing here about Dillian Whyte. I want to ask the question. Is Dillian Whyte, and people might call me a conspiracy theorist when I say this, is Dillian Whyte out of the club? Has Dillian Whyte not signed up to be inside the club? And because he's not signed up to be inside the club, right? That's why Dillian Whyte had to fight the WBC, because he's not part of the club. Yeah? The club means you'll do as we say, when we say, how we say it. You understand? Is Dillian Whyte part of the club? I don't think he's part of the club. I don't think he's cooperative. And because he's not cooperative, I think this is the reason why he's had to struggle and had all this delay with the WBC, because they're basically saying, like, you know what, if you don't want to play a game, well, we're going to make it difficult for you. So Dillian Whyte said, all right, fine, we'll take you to court. And this is where I think we are. There's no dollars in Fury Whyte or Fury versus Usyk. Bob talking out his ass. ESPN will never put in pay-per-view at 5 p.m. USA time. Interesting. Is it college football season? I don't know. Is it college football season? Is the NBA on? Is the hockey on? All these questions I've got to ask. You're the American. You'd let me know. James says, what kind of club? Mainly because he's social with Herman, I believe. But he did refuse the Ortiz eliminators to fight Parker. That club I'm talking about is the club of, like, I explained the club already, so I don't have to go back into that again. I explained it. You know, my talk this evening, I must be on delay, or you must be on delay, because I've explained it. Dillian Whyte also sucks. He'll come to fight, and to be honest, he has more. He's better equipped than Deontay Wilder. Wilder has a big right hand, but after you nullify that right hand, there's not much more coming back from Wilder. I think he's more equipped than Deontay Wilder. To be honest, he'll go to the body better than Deontay Wilder. Wilder's been taught how to go to the body. I think he'll fight on the end. There's no way that Tyson Fury's going to be able to hold Dillian Whyte around his neck and bully him on the inside that way, because White's got he's old fox in him kind of things. Them sort of tricks is that stuff that Wilder was learning during the fight with Fury. You know what I mean? When he's holding on, leaning on him, stuff that he himself should have known from years back, but he wasn't being taught the stuff that sort of stuff. Emmanuel Stewart was teaching guys that for years. Lennox Lewis was doing it. So I don't understand how Wilder allowed himself in 3 fights to allow Fury to lean on him, like stuff like that. But anyway, that's all in the past now. Ben Shalom approaching Hearn on behalf of Dillian is another L for Eddie. Dillian has had to turn to Sky. Well, I told you about Eddie. I've said it already about him, and he's full of it. But anyway, because let's look here. NFL draft April 30th. That's what I know. Okay. What else here? A college basketball Final Four and NFL draft all April. No shot in hell that ESPN does it. This is what I'm saying. So I'm quite clued up with how the Americans work, and boxing is not number 1 out there. It's probably not even number 2 or number 3 out there. There's baseball, there's basketball, there's American football, there's ice hockey, flipping hell. It's college football. So I mean, I've mentioned all those things there, and boxing isn't even in the top 5 of those things. So I don't, if that's the case, scheduling, I don't know how that works out. Unless one way they can do this fight, if it's not in England, and it's somewhere else but not England, right? If that fight was in America, could it work? If that fight was in Dubai, could it work? If that fight was scheduled, I've known fights in boxing to be delayed to the point where I think there was a boxing match or a couple of boxing matches in the UK that the fights didn't start till like 11 o'clock at night or close to midnight. I couldn't remember what fight that was, but they delayed it real late so that the Americans could tune in and watch it. And that was late 1990, early 2000s. So I'm sure somebody can tell me about what fight that was, but it was a huge fight. It might have been heavyweight, but it was late, really late. I don't know if it was Bruno versus McCall. Maybe not Bruno versus McCall, but it was a big fight. It was late. It may have been a stadium fight, and it was late. It was like 11. So I don't know if that would happen, if that's possible. So I don't know. I sense what you mean. No worries. Gotcha. James Lord, NFL draft is not just one day event. You're insane. You think Whyte is better than Wilder? Whyte literally hasn't fought any major heavyweights from the US. What Fury's going to kill him? Nah, bro. Come on. Stop. Okay, so Whyte fought Ortiz, Rivas, who was unbeaten, who'd knocked out Bright Jennings. The same Oscar Rivas was unbeaten. Now he's gone down to Bridgeweight. He was dangerous. He fought Joseph Parker, which I think is quite a good fight. So I cannot sit here and say he didn't fight. He fought Lucas Brown at the time that was unbeaten. Say what you want. These are all big punches and all dangerous. They're all dangerous fighters. And he fought eliminators. Okay, he didn't fight Ancient Ortiz, all right? But again, when I talk about Ancient Ortiz brings no money to the table. 1, Ortiz is in a who needs him club. And 3, I will say it again, who has Ortiz beat to be a bogeyman? So even when I interviewed Tyson Fury years back, he says, Ortiz has got no fan club. Why would I fight Ortiz? He brings no freaking money to the table. And the chance I take to fight him, it's not worth it. So you can talk all you want about Luis Ortiz, because I know that's what you'll bring about Dillian Whyte. But business sense made no business sense whatsoever. And it's not worth it. Luis Ortiz is not, and up to this day, I'll keep on saying, I never was a supporter of the Luis Ortiz as a bogeyman, because I always ask the question, who the hell did Luis Ortiz beat to get 2 world title shots? So if you're going to tell me about Dillian Whyte, I would say Dillian Whyte has fought better opposition than Luis Ortiz. Who did Luis Ortiz fight to get a shot at Wilder in the first place? Do you want to go back and know who that was? It was a guy who blew out in the first round. Can't remember the guy's name. But if you look at the sort of opposition Luis Ortiz fought to win for his first fight, to fight Wilder, and his second fight as eliminators, I'm sorry, I don't know how, the Luis Ortiz. And as for Deontay Wilder, like I said before, Wilder's got a big right hand, but the things that Deontay Wilder was susceptible to, Fury leaning on him, using old man tricks, fighting on the inside, all that sort of stuff, Dillian Whyte will not allow Fury to get away with stuff because he's got good body punch. He's a good body puncher, a natural body puncher. He didn't need Malik Scott to teach him how to throw punches to the body. So a lot of these things here. So Wilder is a huge puncher, but let's get it straight about Deontay Wilder. Huge puncher, and he sets his own traps. But he's not a guy that's going to catch and shoot. He's not a guy that's going to let you throw your shot and then counter you as you're throwing your shot, i.e. what he did against AJ. So he's got catch and shoot. He can work the body. He has got a good left hook. He can throw the right hand. He can work to the body. He can throw the looping overhand right. All those things that Dillian Whyte has, he's more equipped than Deontay Wilder. Yes, Deontay Wilder might be a one single punch knockout artist, but that didn't help him against Tyson Fury because he landed a single shot, Fury went down, and Fury got up. Don't ask me how Fury got up twice, where he got hit with one right hand, and you could see the vibration go for Fury's body. I'm thinking, how the hell you get up from these 2 shots? But equipped, Whyte is far more equipped. And fundamentally, a fundamental boxer than Wilder. Again, Wilder has got that one right hand, and again, I'm not telling you Dillian Whyte is fantastic. His footwork's appalling, and when he throws shots, his balance, he could throw up a right hand and take him right the way around the world. So I'm not saying Dillian Whyte, like I said, is the second coming of Joe Frazier or whatever, but I'm saying you can see it from the eye. He is fundamentally more sound than Deontay Wilder and far more experienced. Having all these fights and say you're experienced only tells when you're actually in a big fight where you need to call upon the experience. But in 3 fights, he allowed Fury to lean on him. He allowed Fury to lean on him and cuff him up on the inside in 3 fights. So I still think that Whyte is far more equipped than Wilder. Sorry, far more equipped. I was here. That's why I know. How long is it for? American things are long-winded, bro. All April. Boxing is not top 10 sport. I know it's not. Even football is bigger than boxing or soccer. Well, Coach Chris, no one is going to pay for that pay-per-view boxing match. Listen, bro, let's put something straight here to you, yeah? You're talking, with all due respect, you're talking rubbish because people are going to pay for Keith Thurman against Barrios. Keith Thurman versus Barrios is pay-per-view. Bro, people are paying pay-per-view for that. And I like Keith Thurman, but I don't like him that much against Barrios. Thurman's coming off a loss, and then Barrios coming off a loss. And when was the last time Barrios or Thurman were in the ring? Come on, bro. Dubois time difference is 5 hours. The fight you're talking about was not on pay-per-view. Okay. Yeah, was it not on pay-per-view? I thought it might have been pay-per-view because I think that fight was Showtime was showing it. Let's see if you can tell me what the fight was I'm talking about. Fights you're talking about were on regular HBO, not pay-per-view. You sure? You sure that was not a pay-per-view event? There was a huge event. Wait, hold on. Was that Ben Eubank 2? Was that Ben Eubank? Check me for that fight, Ben versus Eubank 2, because Don King was there. It was mixed up so that the Americans can see Ben and Eubank. I could be wrong about it, but that was a stadium fight, and they had the crossover. Was it Showtime? Was it HBO? Somebody check me on that. I'm not sure, but if you could tell me what fight it was, I'd really like to know. I really hope Dillian Whyte does turn up. How do you see your Joshua White fight going? We can talk about it afterwards. Chris, exactly. Void the other sporting events. Who's at home watching this TV in US at 5 p.m. on Saturdays? No one. Yep. Dillian goes life and death with shot Chisora. Again, you're not listening. Stars make fights. Chisora's 6'2", 6'1.5". Tyson 6'7". Are you comparing the fighting style of guy at 6'1" versus the guy at 6'7"? Okay, let me give you something here, Mr. Ruben Guerrero. Evander Holyfield fought Lennox Lewis and went 24 rounds to Lennox Lewis, right? Didn't look close to getting knocked out once. He fights James Toney, who's a middleweight, gone up to heavyweight, and James Toney knocks out Evander Holyfield. And you're going to tell me James Toney's a bigger puncher than Lennox Lewis? Stars make fights, different dynamics. James Toney was able to work Holyfield's body. Styles make fights. So I'm not sure where you're going with that. Dillian should have lost. Parker fight was awarded knockdown with headbutt. Tyson Fury should have lost against McDermott in his first fight. Where are you going with that conversation? Tyson Fury should have got beat by John McDermott in the first fight. He was well beaten by John McDermott. Where are you going with this conversation? Fury versus Whyte is at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. Great. Whatever happened to that coach you had on the make excuses of Fury of cheating? What's his thoughts on Fury putting Wilder to sleep? Anyone excuses or lies? Well, he's on the show. I'm sure Coach Chris is more than happy to join us. He did say he would be. I don't know if he's busy now, though. Ortiz beat Charles Martin is better version of AJ beat. Ortiz beat Charles Martin now. 2022. And he already had 2 world title shots. You can't use that as an excuse, bro. Bro, come on. Bro, you are really trying it now. Aram is predicting 500,000 buys on ESPN for Fury versus Whyte. Aram also said that he doesn't know why he was wasting money. He was losing money on Fury, and he also said he was losing money on Crawford. Aram says a lot of shit. Interesting, says TMT. Guys, Bob Arum tried to sell ESPN Wilder Fury 3 in December before arbitration, and ESPN said he'll know not during college football, and they're going to approve Fury Whyte at 5 p.m. No way in hell. Well, I don't see them approving that at 5 p.m. I agree with you there. Yeah, you got to laugh your head off. But it's true. Facts. Keith Thurman versus Barris won't do 50,000 buys. Once upon a time, Thurman. Ingram, Keith Thurman is back. He hasn't knocked anybody out in 9 years. I keep telling people about what happened with Thurman. It was the last fight he had was against Julio Diaz. I sat down and Keith was in his car and I spoke to him about the Julio Diaz fight. I said to Keith years ago, I said, if you keep throwing punches like a fast bowler, that's going to injure you. Got injured with his shoulder and he hasn't been the same fighter since. Years. CRB, could be so. Aram is just trying to sell the fight to the broadcaster too. That's just what he said in his last interview. Well, it'll be interesting to see how Aram gets around it. AJ Vlad wasn't even pay-per-view here. Okay. Now about 500,000. Biggest fight in UK history, AJ Vlad was shown regular Showtime, not pay-per-view. Was AJ Vlad the biggest fight in UK history? I don't know about that. I would tell you that he probably had the biggest gate or the biggest, the most seats sold because it was in the Wembley Arena or Wembley Stadium. Yes, but the biggest fight in British boxing? I don't know about the UK history. I mean, where was Ben and Eubank too? Bruno versus Lewis. Historically, 2 Brits fighting for a heavyweight championship of the world. So they'd be, and I think it was at Cardiff Arms Park. Let me think. George Groves against Carl Froch. I mean, I don't know. There's some fights there, though. ESPN aren't idiots. Bod told them they want Fury Wilder 3 during college football, and they laughed at him. Yeah. Ingram, are you backing Whyte for this fight or playing devil advocate? Impartiality. It's not that. What I'm doing, and I try to do, is try and when I hear certain voices in my head from forums. So forums say, yeah, well, Dillian Whyte got spot perfecting. That's why he can't beat Fury. Oh, he's got a puncher's chance. Yeah, well, so did Deontay Wilder have a puncher's chance. So did Klitschko have a puncher's chance. So did Otto Wallin have a puncher's chance. Usually in heavyweight boxing, you have a puncher's chance because you're a heavyweight, right? So I think when people say you got a puncher's chance, it's a very lazy thing to say. Oh, he's got a puncher's chance. Okay, so what does that mean? The fact you're a boxer and you get in a ring and you're going to punch the other guy, you've got a puncher's chance because you're punching somebody. That's a chance. So I don't really subscribe to that. I would say, given his attributes, he's a big puncher. So if he connects on Fury's chin, Fury may go down. That left hook is Fury. The left hook's on the blind side, right? Left hook's on the blind side of Fury, and Whyte throws a better left hook. than Wilder, and he has got a better chance of throwing the overhand right than Wilder does, right? So I think he's a better conditioned heavyweight than Wilder. I think White's a better conditioned heavyweight. Look, I'm not sitting there and telling you that, oh, like I said, White is the greatest thing to come out of the British heavyweight division. What I'm saying to you is this guy's a threat. He's dangerous. And he's dangerous because he can get close. He can let that left hook go. And if he lets that left hook go, left hook right hand combination over the top or body shots, he becomes a problem. When Wilder actually did go to Fury's body in the first fight, he was able to slow Fury down. Go back and that's how he set up the knockdown, the second knockdown. Go back and look at the fight. I was commentating on the fight. And I was saying, look, Wilder's actually throwing some shots to the body. He's throwing jabs to the body. And you could see that was slowing Fury up around 8 or 9. And then the next round he came out and dropped Fury. So I want you to go back and look at round, I think it's 8 and 9. In the commentary I did for Fury Wilder 1. So the body shots are something I think are a key for Dillian Whyte. Lennox was in the biggest fight in British boxing. Okay. This fight isn't going too well. Maybe they'll make money back. Fury may have the punch resistant anymore. The trilogy was brutal. That's the thing. Did ask the question about Tyson Fury's durability for this fight. Very interesting if he does have the same sort of durability to absorb that. Because those 3 fights would have taken something out of Tyson Fury. He can't keep getting knocked down the way he was getting knocked down. That shot that Wilder hit him with, you could see actually the punch vibrating through his body. How the hell Fury took those shots, I don't know. I still can't work it out. Somebody suggested that he was on something. Wherever he was on, I think Amir Khan needs it when he fights Kell Brook. Let's see here. But Fury has ESPN deals, so they may be obligated to show his fights within a certain time frame. Not sure how the contract is structured. Interesting. Yeah, ESPN will want it. It just won't work at 5 p.m. No US network has ever done that, and it's a reason for it. Yep. Tyson's been dropped by Wilder. Dillian by Rivas. Oh, my God. Bro, you know what? It's past your bedtime. White wins going forward, catching and shooting. Hooking as Fury comes too close. Punching with Fury. If Fury fake game and range control are on point, White cannot do any of that, though. That's the thing. I did point on this earlier on. If Fury's doing all this sort of herky-jerky stuff, like he was when he fought Klitschko, I think he's a better Fury than this Fury that fought Wilder. If he fights White like he fought Wilder, he'll be in for a very difficult night because that style will suit Dillian Whyte more because Dillian Whyte will be able to capitalize on stuff that Wilder wasn't able to do, and that fight was that style was specific for Wilder. But what I don't understand in that fight, when Wilder was able to line Fury up with that right hand the first time round, you could see him looking for it again. And then in the next round, he completely, because every time he sort of shifted side on to Fury, it's like they blinded the right hand. That's why Fury couldn't see that right hand coming in. But only when he turned to the side and shot that right hand, that's where he went straight down Fury's pipe. But then when he tried throwing the right hand, you started overextending with the right hand. Who has more mileage, Whyte or Fury or Whyte? That's a tough one, you know. You'd have to say Whyte because White's been knocked out twice, brutally by Povetkin. Wilder equally could be on something to deliver that much force. Oh, God. Bro, just go to bed. Literally, go to bed. Drugs. Wilder dropped Fury in the third fight on the back foot going backwards. Wilder literally destroyed his body, delivering that power year after year. Most injured heavyweight champion ever. Yes. I will say this much as well. When you got guys like that who are big punchers, big punchers like that, they damage their hands very easily. Keith Thurman has that problem now. Even you look at Floyd Mayweather. Early on in his career, he was knocking dudes out. He was brutal, Floyd, early on in his career. He had some real heavy hands. But the hands are brittle. Joe Kazaki, another one. Long time no see, my friend. Long time no see. Hope you're well. And Daniel Dubois. He's laughing. Because Whyte is going on 35 years old. He's not a young man, heavyweights or not. Age is age. Come on, bro. Bro, come on. I can't believe you're even saying this to me. Heavyweights mature as they get older, they mature, and most of them look at Lennox Lewis's career. Lennox Lewis really didn't get into his prime or the best years when he was in his late 30s. Come on, bro. It's between two Brits, though, so I think ESPN probably factored that in when they signed Fury. They knew AJ and Whyte were possible opponents. Okay. CMT, that's very true. Nazim had brittle hands. Yep, that's another one. Nazim Hamid. Yeah, that's another one. So again, these are initial thoughts about Fury versus Whyte. No prediction here, but just initial thoughts that cross my mind when I think about this fight. But as I said, this fight gets really tasty if Whyte can close the distance, get Fury's back against the ropes, and make it a phone booth fight. That is the only way I see Dillian Whyte beating Tyson Fury. He does not beat Tyson Fury on a standoff on the outside and allowing Fury to use his jab and do all this herky-jerky shit. Forget it. Like I said, I did give a sort of comparison between Vitaly Klitschko and Danny Williams with Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. That similar sort of style where he's tall and long and can use the jab and pop the right hand down the middle. If Whyte allows Fury to do that shit, then can you see Fury resorting to the Vlad jab and grab style? He'll have to, I think. He'll have to smother Whyte's work. Don't allow him to get off, do his best work. And you see, even when you push Whyte onto the back foot, he still got that counter. He still can counter you. The Whyte will counter. He'll counter if he gets onto the back foot. He can counter. He's not bad at that. It's going to be interesting. You think ESPN's target demographic knows who Whyte is? Most don't even know who AJ is in the US. Yeah, that's true. And they will know. They will know Whyte. Knowing the Americans the way I know the Americans, they will know Dillian Whyte as the guy that got knocked out by AJ and the guy that got knocked out by 40-year-old Alexander Povetkin. That's what I'll say. And I can imagine them guys in commentary going, so let's talk about Dillian Whyte then. Yeah, Dillian Whyte, yeah, he's a Brit. And just like his countryman, Tyson Fury. And yeah, he got knocked out by AJ, the Brit who came over to America, got knocked out by Andy Ruiz in that fight. And then, the other day, he got beat by Alexander Usyk. Usyk moved up from cruiserweight to heavyweight. And then Dillian Whyte, his rival, got knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. You can hear the Americans. They can already hear what they're saying. Some of these commentary teams. Yeah, but, Dillian Whyte avenged that loss from Alexander Povetkin. He stopped Alexander Povetkin, So Dillian Whyte now he's here tonight. He's going to be tough. He's going to be game. He's going to be trying to give the heavyweight champion, a challenge. Something like that you can hear being said. But they will mention the Alexander Povetkin fight. They will mention the AJ fight. You can see it coming. You can see it coming a mile off. Have a feeling Whyte won't be practicing his boxing versus Fury. No, he won't be practicing his boxing. He won't be using any mind. He won't be doing any brain training. No, he won't be talking about the first quarter. He won't be talking about being the last the performer or, the team around. He won't be doing any of that stuff. And the other thing we have to take into consideration, which is what Whyte has got in his corner, which everyone's missing, is that Whyte has got Harold the Shadow Knight in his training camp. And Harold the Shadow Knight is a wily old fox. It's from the old Kronk gym with Emmanuel Stewart, James Ellie Bashir, from that same era. So those guys, he'll know all the tricks of the trade, Harold the Shadow Knight, when it comes to what Tyson Fury will try and do. People are not talking a lot about Dillian Whyte's team and Harold the Shadow Knight. He's going to be key in this fight. If Whyte has still got Harold the Shadow Knight, he's key in this fight. Strategy, game plans, he's key. And I don't hear anyone talk about Harold the Shadow Knight. Whyte has weaknesses Fury has to exploit to be sure not to have a bad surprise. It's up to Fury if the fight happens, which will not be the case. I just want to see Whyte's right hand that bowling throw is legendary. Seriously, I do think when Whyte could drop but Whyte will get hit too often. His jab is lazy. He could drop three. I do believe he can drop three with the right hand or that left hook. Thurman's doing his best personification of David Haye these days. I did call when I first talked to Keith on the phone, and he would regularly ring me when I was in the Caribbean. He'd ring my house in Grenada, and he'd say, "When we do the next interview, bro?" And I would say to him, when I first interviewed him, I said, "You know what? You remind me of David Haye." He says, "Yeah, man, a lot of people say that about me. But oh, Keith. Sugar Hill versus Howard Knight. Interesting matchup. That is a damn interesting matchup. Damn. I think Harold's got a few years on Sugar Hill as well. Xavier Miller, good coach as well. Oh, bloody hell. Moving swiftly on. Ben Eubank 2 was massive from what I read. Yeah, so Ben Eubank 2 was massive. George Groves versus Carl Froch was massive. Don't know where you get this AJ versus Klitschko. Klitschko was flipping retired for 2 years, came out of nowhere to fight AJ. So I don't know where this was the massive fight because the promoter Eddie Hearn says that. And because it was back in the day, nobody talks about Gates. Nobody talked about Gates and flipping how many people were in the arena. That's a distractor to how quality the fight is. If you've got a quality fight, you don't give a damn about the Gates. It's only now Eddie Hearn talking that shit about Gates and how many people can fit in the arena, 90,000. Back in the day, you didn't care how many people were watching the damn fight. You just knew that it was when Ben Eubank was fighting. Nobody was talking about, tonight we're watching how many people in the arena. No, it was about Ben and Eubank, and it was intense. When Ben Eubank 2 was on, we didn't care how many people were in the arena. We were watching a big fight. When Bruno fought McCall for the heavyweight championship of the world, we didn't care about how many people were in the arena. We cared about the fact that Bruno was challenging for the heavyweight championship of the world. When Ricky Hatton fought Costa Zoo, challenged Costa Zoo that night, nobody cared about how many seats were in the arena. They talked about the fight. When Joe Kazaki fought Mikhail Kessler, nobody cared about the seats in the arena. They talked about Kessler and Kazaki. Man. Oh. It's just a match of rubbish. That's what that is. Big up Lagos cricket team. Thank you very much for that. It's a spectacle. Yeah, Eddie got people in programs to talk about irrelevance. That's it. When he starts talking about Gates, I would know what you're distracting us from. You're not going to try that second-hand car salesmanship shit with me. Never. When you start talking about gate receipts and flipping how many people are sitting in the arena, am I an accountant? What difference does it make if it's 10 people watching the fight or 100,000 people watching the fight? So long as I can see that fight and it's a worthy fight to watch, I'm watching it. So yeah, that's it for me. Can't subscribe to that rubbish. For years I've told you about Eddie Hearn, but people still want to go, Eddie. Who you got winning at BWTM? Let me get closer to the fight, man. I think it's a damn good fight. Eddie, I think Dillian Whyte's been underestimated. I think his key has got something to it. Big up, of course. I'm always bigging up Frank. Always bigging up Frank Warren. And, my man, he's always losing purse bids, Eddie. Always losing. Because just jumped on. Thank you very much, Andrew. James Anderson, what? Gerard Anderson Wilder been spoken about. Yeah, that's some. I don't know what the angle of that is. I don't even know why they're making that fight up. Now, if Wilder were to go out there and actually spank Anderson, right? Gerard Anderson, I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll keep on saying it. He's a young prospect, a decent fighter, but he has massive holes in his defense. He's one of these guys that throws shots and can get counted very easily. He's got his chin up in the air when he's throwing shots. In the heavyweight division, you've got to be so careful. I said this to Stacey McKinley, and he said exactly the same things back to me. And he's a heavyweight specialist. Whyte would have lost $2 million if Eddie got it. People just rate Eddie Hearn so much. It's so far up the guy's ass. What are the ideal weights for Fury and Whyte for their fight? I don't know. I think Whyte's going to have to come in heavy for the fight. He's going to have to come in heavy so he can lean on Fury, get inside. He's going to have, for me, he'll have the extra weight to be able to put Fury back. Fury won't be able to get with the same crap that he got away with against Wilder. He won't be able to come in. I'm gonna steamroll Wilder. I'm gonna steamroll Whyte. You ain't steamrolling no Dillian Whyte. You ain't steamrolling no Dillian Whyte. And if he does steamroll Dillian Whyte, he's not steamrolling no Dillian Whyte. So get that out of your head straight away. He ain't steamrolling no Dillian Whyte. If he tries in that steamrolling stuff, he'll get caught with a nice left hook, right hand combination. Straight up. Wilder Ruiz. I can see Parker fighting Ruiz faster than Wilder fighting Ruiz, to be honest. Kawanaki Gerard would be a good fight. No, it would not be a good fight. Would not be a good fight. I think it would be a damn good fight. Daniel Dubois versus Gerard Anderson. Let's have that fight. That'd be a good fight. It'd be a damn good fight. So, yeah. Well, all right. So, let me come to the end of this now. Dubois Bright, any development? Well, I don't know. Don't know about that yet. I have to check that out. I did speak to, check out my interview with Stacey McKinley. He was dropping some heavy bombs in that interview. Do check it out. It says here, Kawanaki versus present-day Mike Tyson would be more like it. Okay, guys, I've got to get out of here. Thank you so much as always. This has been BWTM Sports, and we're out of here. Take care.